Did you know that 85% of people allow their ego to hinder personal growth? That's right. The majority of us are unknowingly stunting our progress because of this inflated sense of self-importance. But what exactly is the ego? It's a self-identity we construct, a persona built on our desires, fears, and attachments. The ego is a master of disguise, often blinding us to our own weaknesses and acting as a barrier to reaching our true potential. It's like a shield, a protective layer we put up to avoid feeling vulnerable or inadequate. But the irony is that this shield, instead of protecting us, often prevents us from growing and evolving. It keeps us stuck in a state of denial, unable to acknowledge and address our shortcomings. This ego-driven mindset fuels comparison, judgment, and a constant need for validation, creating a cycle that's hard to break free from. Remember, the ego fuels comparison, judgment, and a constant need for validation. Imagine the ego as a balloon. This balloon inflates and deflates, expands and contracts based on the air of praise and criticism we receive. The balloon is not inherently harmful. In fact, it can be quite beautiful. A symbol of celebration and joy, much like our ego can be a source of confidence and personal identity. However, problems arise when we allow this balloon to inflate unchecked, filled with the air of self-importance and superiority. Every compliment we receive, every achievement we attain, every validation we get pumps more air into this balloon. On the surface, this inflation might seem appealing. After all, who doesn't enjoy feeling important and appreciated? But as the balloon grows larger, it also becomes more fragile, susceptible to the smallest prick of criticism or failure. This inflated balloon starts affecting our behavior, thoughts, and interactions. We become overly sensitive to criticism, resistant to feedback, and desperate for validation. We start comparing ourselves to others, seeking superiority and fearing inferiority. We become more self-centered, less empathetic, and more disconnected from our true selves and others. Moreover, this balloon of ego creates a separation, a wall between ourselves and the world around us. This wall prevents us from seeing our interconnectedness, our shared humanity, and our inherent equality. It fuels a relentless pursuit of personal gain and superiority, leading to conflicts, unhappiness, and a sense of emptiness. But here's the thing. Just as a balloon can burst with too much air, an inflated ego can lead to personal and interpersonal conflicts. It can shatter relationships, hinder growth, and prevent us from reaching our true potential. Therefore, it's crucial to keep our ego in check, to not let it inflate uncontrollably. We need to remember that we are more than our achievements, our failures, our praises, or our criticisms. We need to see beyond the balloon of our ego, to recognize our inherent worth, and to embrace our interconnectedness with all life. Just as a balloon can burst with too much air, an inflated ego can lead to personal and interpersonal conflicts. Take a moment to reflect on your own ego. Think about the times when you felt an overwhelming need to be right, to be acknowledged, praised, or admired. These are signs of your ego at work. It's an inflated sense of self-importance that blinds you to your shortcomings, impedes your progress, and prevents you from realizing your true potential. Your ego is not just about self-esteem or confidence. It's a self-constructed identity based on your desires, fears, and attachments. It separates you from others, fuels comparisons, judgments, and fosters a constant need for validation. It's your self-image created and maintained by your mind. When your ego takes the reins, you become resistant to feedback and constructive criticism. It's like wearing blinders that limit your view of the world and yourself. This resistance can hinder relationships, family ties, societal connections, and most importantly, your relationship with yourself. At the heart of the ego lies the illusion of separation. It makes you believe that you're separate entities, disconnected from one another and the world around you. This belief fuels a relentless pursuit of personal gain and superiority, leading to conflicts, unhappiness, and a sense of emptiness. To identify ego-driven behaviors, look for signs of control and validation. Do you resist feedback, even when it's constructive? Do you constantly seek approval from others? Do you relentlessly pursue personal gain at the expense of others? These are telltale signs of an ego in control. Let's remember, the ego is not inherently bad. It's a part of us, but it doesn't define us. It's a tool that can be used to navigate the world, but it becomes a problem when it's the only tool we use. By identifying ego-driven behaviors, you begin the journey to overcome the ego's hold. You start to see the world and yourself in a more balanced, compassionate, and realistic way. And that, my friend, is the first step towards a more fulfilled and authentic life. Overcoming the ego is a journey of self-discovery and growth. It's a path that requires conscious effort, but the rewards are immeasurable. Let's delve into how we can embark on this journey to dismantle the illusions of the ego. Firstly, cultivate a sense of interconnectedness. Recognize that we are not isolated entities, but part of the expansive tapestry of life. This shift in perspective from me to we diminishes the ego's influence, fostering empathy and compassion in place of comparison and judgment. Next, engage in acts of kindness. Extend a hand, volunteer your time, or lend a listening ear to someone in need. Such acts of generosity extend your consciousness beyond the confines of the ego, allowing you to experience the joy of connection and dissolve the illusion of separation. The ego thrives on control and fears uncertainty. It clings to outcomes, people, and situations, believing it can manipulate every facet of life. But this insatiable need for control breeds anxiety and limits your capacity to experience true freedom and inner peace. So, what's the solution? Surrender. Surrender to the natural flow of life. Imagine being caught in a turbulent river, struggling against the current. Exhausted and overwhelmed, you finally surrender, allowing the river to guide you. In that moment of surrender, you experience a profound sense of relief and trust. The river, once your adversary, now becomes your ally. Cultivate an attitude of acceptance and trust in life's unfolding. Observe how your ego resists or clings to situations. When you find yourself in the grips of control, remind yourself to surrender. This doesn't mean giving up or relinquishing your power. On the contrary, it means understanding that true power lies in surrendering to what is, rather than wrestling against it. The journey of overcoming the ego demands patience and perseverance. It's not an overnight transformation, but a continuous process of self-awareness and growth. Remember, releasing the ego's grip leads to a profound sense of relief, true freedom, and inner peace. Embrace this journey and discover the expansive potential that lies beyond the constraints of the ego.